Third time a charm here. All right. Yeah, I think everything is working now. So let me know if you hear me. Okay, I got positive sound. So, yeah, after all that, I forget what I wanted to talk about here. All right, why am I in studio here? Stop studio, let's just do this. Yeah, I've been doing some fooling with the software here. There's the boys there. Loud and clear. Hey, Dad, thank you. Thanks for coming. Come on in. Yeah, I had a few things going on this week. Just in relation to some of the things you guys have been sending me and stuff we were talking about on Sunday night. I just want to check, see if my keys are set up here the way I had. Let's see here. I should be looking at the YouTube page. And this is... Like driving too fast. All right. Am I backwards again? Okay, let's just go here. All right, I'm mirrored properly here. No, I'm not trying to break anything. The weather is broken here. It has been for some time. Man, it's been cold the last few days, cold and windy. It gets down to like the 40s overnight. I don't think it got more than 60 today during the daytime. And yeah, there's lots to do outside, but just miserable being out there. I did dig up some nice asparagus from the garden, the sweetest asparagus that I've ever tasted. I don't know how, I guess maybe the cold weather contributes to that. Let's see who else files back in. Might have lost a couple of yous. What's the matter? He only gives me one chance and then that's it. He goes find something else to do. Comes in, calls me guilty, and then he's done. Anyways, let's kind of get started here. Hey, Mike number 2, NC Mike and California Mike. The mics are in the house, and my mic is on. It should be only a 1 cup of coffee stream, but we'll see. I got a cup of tea as a backup. No Dr. Pepper. But, yeah, the other day we kind of left off. I don't know if we left off on this, but after the stream, I think I got this. Let's do this for you. I got this video recommended to me. What the heck? It's called Slade, From Total Collapse to National Treasures in Just One Gig. And it was a story, and you know how I love stories, of the 1980 Reading Festival in England, where Ozzy was slated to play that weekend, and he had to cancel. And so they were scrambling to find people to fill in. No, that's not what I want. I want to be able to see the chat. But in any case, Slade filled in, and they weren't the head. Like Ozzy was the headliner, and Def Leppard was just kind of on the rise at that time, and so I guess they shuffled things around. I don't even know if Def Leppard was a final act or if there was somebody else. You guys, I recommend this short 25-minute documentary. But the story of it is that Def Leppard refused to play unless Slade played before them. Like they didn't want to fall. They didn't want. They wanted to higher billing than Slade. And in any case, Slade came out and did this phenomenal set. Blew the audience away. I mean, let's just look at the comments on this video here. The guy says, "I was there. That crowd was vicious. Monstrous beast, quite capable of turning on anybody or anything that earned their displeasure. The band girl, having been literally pelted off stage earlier simply for looking a little bit poofy. Slade could so easily have suffered a similar fate. We'd paid for Ozzy, and the organizers were trying to palm us off with a bunch of old has-beens like Slade. I've seen some killer sets in my life, but nothing has or will ever come close to the magic that I witnessed over the following 45 minutes. Slade were utterly, utterly magnificent, and in their finest traditions of the performing arts, they stole the show." So I encourage you to check out this set. I mean, we'll play the first couple of minutes just as we ease into this. So I'll let you guys check out this playlist. I'll put this video in the chat, and then you can look up the rest. But that there was one fantastic show. Yeah, Ozzy's 80. The reports I've been getting is that he's not going to make it for the Black Sabbath reunion as far as performing. I guess anything could change, but it's like the Parkinson's is catching up with him. And just, I mean, I don't know, his lifestyle's caught up with, I don't know what kind of health he's in, but unfortunately, I don't think that one's going to go as planned. But getting back to this, this Slade concert, I thought this was so cool in that there's this incredible story behind this show. Like, yeah, they were washed up, and then this one performance basically snapped them back into, not the limelight, but it gave them really a revitalization. The band was pretty much ready to split up. Like, they weren't getting any airplay or any love from any promoters at the time there, and so check out the, I'll link the documentary too, I guess. Find a way to do this without showing you my page, but anyways, as you may have heard from the broadcast 20 minutes ago, I let in with the old Alice Cooper ditty "Guilty" there. One of my favorites. Just simple songwriting, so, it's just a simple message off the amazing album back here, Alice Goes to Hell. And in any case, I played that the other day, and this is kind of my rant for the day, in that I got, well, this is going back, I just want to share with you guys some of the copyright strikes that I've, not strikes, but disputes. So a couple of weeks ago, I forget if that was like the Easter weekend, I did that whole AC/DC versus Free and Ozzy Osbourne versus Ronnie James Dio. So I was using some copyrighted music, and so there was disputes, right? And it's all Sony Music. I don't know if you guys can see this on your screens, but Sony Music Entertainment. It's not Ozzy. It's not AC/DC. It's the rights holders, right? And so the other day, this was the first one. So I played a few tracks there. Some of these claims do not restrict your video at the moment, but I played Alice Cooper "Guilty" off of Alice Cooper's own YouTube site. And the video is blocked in certain territories. So I just wanted to show you what I'm going through. It's not a big deal, but so this video can't be seen in some territories. So if you're a viewer in Belarus or Russia, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to enjoy that one on, what was that, Friday night? Whatever. And likewise, on part 2, I was playing some other stuff, "Money" by Government Mule and all, the Squirrels. I played a little bit of Free, Land of the Navajo, and again, visibility. This video can't be seen in some countries due to one or more claims. So blocked in Russia. I don't know if you can see right at the bottom of the screen, but blocked in Russia. So all my Russian fans, I guess you're going to have to use a VPN to see this one. But yeah, the rant is kind of related to something Andy covered, I don't know, is this 9 days ago? Copyright or copy wrong, the ethics of creative ownership, Philosophy Sunday. So I don't know if you guys, a lot of you may have found me through Andy's, not through Andy's website, but I did a reaction video to Andy Edwards' channel, and that got a lot of views for me here, and it kind of brought in a bunch of y'all. So I'm just trying to catch up with the chat here. Hey, welcome in, Jody. And yeah, so I did this reaction video to Andy Edwards, and lots of people piled on to watch it. And so, as you guys know, I saw Mike in Andy's comment section over the last couple of days. But in this video, he's talking about copyright and the necessity for it. And I think there's an argument to be made for copyright, but I find this ridiculous. Playing a song like "Guilty," this is a reaction channel, essentially. We're talking about music. Uh, Guilty is one of those songs. Let's do the guilty reaction right now. Like, I so identify with Alice Cooper, his career. If you want to go back and check the Alice Cooper retrospective or tribute video I did, it's in the Music Mentality playlist there. But Guilty is one of those tunes, like, look up the lyrics. Like, it's just fantastic, you know. Love going too fast. Love going, or, you know, just got to go too far. Like, that was my lifestyle. Too fast and too far every time. I mean, I've settled down since then, but as a young man growing up, like, this was just the the energy of youth or whatever. And so to this day, this song still, like, it strikes a chord in my, and what's the matter in the last couple of weeks has been trying to pin some kind of guilt on me. So let's just play along. Yes, guilty as charged. Whatever. I'm guilty. I'm a guilty YouTuber. But now it seems I'm a guilty infringer of somebody's intellectual property. And it's not Alice, it's Sony Music Entertainment, right? And so this is the rant. Like, in this video, Andy is kind of arguing for the position that we need copyright. And I can kind of see that, but I've been looking at some content the last few days and just pondering it, and I kind of disagree in a certain sense. I'll take you off. Did that do anything? Yeah, we're back here. It's, to me, the intellectual property and copyright claims on music, it's sort of like patenting water. It's like someone injected themselves in the process and became a middleman between the artist and those that would enjoy the art. And, you know, music is so fundamental to who we are as people. Like, I think it was even Andy Edwards, like, you know, you find, oh no, who was it? No, it was another video. It was a good one. I'll find it. It was James Corbett talking with a fellow, his music teacher, how music is found everywhere in nature. You pick up a conch shell and blow into it, and if you're pretty good, you can make like three tones, you know, a tritone, a chord. But if you're really, really good, you can get like all the major notes out of a scale, or you know, the 7 notes out of a major scale. I've never tried this. I'm just kind of going on what they're saying, but likewise, you can find lengths of wood, logs in the forest, and different sized logs, and you strike them, and you could hammer out a melody on those logs. So there's, you know, you can create a rhythm, you can create a melody, and there's something so fundamental about us as humans that it's almost like we have a need for music, or there's an expectation for music, almost like you know, these basic human rights, you know, to water, shelter, food, etc. You know, however you feel about that, that's a little more of a political issue. I don't want to turn music necessarily into a political issue, but it seems people with money, or people with greed at least, have commodified music. And that's not the way it was until copyright law came into effect, and we came up with this idea of intellectual property. Because private property, you know, your land, needed certain protections from intruders, but intellectual property, especially music or art, that's kind of a different realm. Like, from my understanding, through the Middle Ages and through that period where we got so much fantastic art, it's like the artists were funded by patrons that that gave them a stipend or gave them an allowance or gave them money so that they could go into their chamber and create their art, whether it was a piece of sculpture or a piece of music, and whether that patron was the Catholic Church or some king or some baron or some nobility. The artist was free to create and was paid for his labor, or his or her labor. I mean, for most of human history, it was male dominated. And then once the piece of art was created, the artist got credit. But if say created a painting, the Mona Lisa, like he could sell that piece of art, but everyone know it was a Leonardo, so he got credit. He got remunerated for his art, and there was really no middleman. Like it was a form of free market capitalism, almost, if you will, where the artist had the rights to his property and he was free to do whatever he wanted with it. Jump ahead to the 20th century, and we have record labels and the such, and artists somehow sign over their rights to a third party, and then that third party is somehow able to control music or art, and it just doesn't make any sense with me. To me, especially if we want to define music specifically as something that it's almost a human need. I'm ready to categorize it as a human need at this point. Mr. Osgood, he just moved. I saw him in a chat room earlier today, but he might be just kicking back, chilling, unpacking boxes. So that's my understanding. Dolores, I haven't seen Dolores anywhere in a while. Mr. Osgood, Dolores, turn on your notifications. But in any case, like it just irks me that I've got to deal with a bunch of copyright claims. Where are we here? I lost it already. All this baloney. So, I mean, going back to a few weeks ago, I put in a dispute that my use of the content was fair use. And even in the title of these videos from Friday, it says right in there, the music mentality reactions. And in the description, I said fair use of videos that we're going to watch during this live. So it's like the rights holder is not the artist anymore. They've been paid a pittance for their labor. And, there's a whole system of royalties and whatever. Things like that can stay in place. And I'm not even offering a solution. I'm just ranting here that I'm just identifying problems right now. And it's a little bit of a frustration because now with AI, it's totally going to redefine intellectual property. Like we're kind of on the cusp of a bit of a revolution when it comes to intellectual property. And it just seems, being on YouTube, if you're going to talk about copyrighted material, like, how do you go about it? Do I buy a license of some kind? Like it's like the rules on permissions need to be changed. Like, I'm not monetized. In the dispute process, it says the fact that you're not monetized isn't a reason to dispute, and that wasn't the reason. It was fair use. But it's like as soon as the algorithm picks up use of copyrighted material, it reports to that copyright holder, and then they want to levy threats against you. So along those lines, like, there's this creator. I came across her, I don't know, just after the new year. And I haven't been following her, but the reason I started following is she was having titles like this: Day 64, posting songs I write until it finds the cool people. So it's like she's out there. She's tried. Sydney Shea. Uh, I'll post her things. She's a singer songwriter. She's got all the Insta, the website, the Spotify, Discord. So I'll put the channel link here. If you want to check out her content. I mean, it's just seems to be the way that people, or not people, but artists, they're just putting their stuff out there. And so, to my knowledge, she doesn't have a label. I mean, she's on Spotify, but it's really hard for new artists to get a foothold with a fan base through Spotify, because people are going on Spotify to find the catalogs of these big acts that they already know. Maybe some of you out there are using it. Like, I don't have Spotify, but maybe some of you are searching out, new and innovative artists. But it seems to me that's not where the money in Spotify or the plays on Spotify are going. So it's like a person like this. What do? Do they go to a studio and sign over their labor so that somebody else can own the rights to their product? I don't feel that's the right thing to do, or it never was the right thing to do. That's kind of my thesis that I'm putting forth. The greed of these record labels. You could have a structure where the artist is represented by an agent, and that agent goes to promoters to set up a studio session, or however the recording is done these days. It's very much digital and computerized nowadays. So a lot of this music is creator. It's entirely produced by the creator, and so there's the indie label option, but it's like there seems to be no need for a middleman. A business manager, if you're not capable of running that yourself, and then start getting in front of people, and whatever you make at the shows, whatever merch you got, that's yours. Like, I don't see the need for record labels. There's example. Okay, the Grateful Dead. I know there's deadheads in the audience here. What was their innovation? Well, allowing people to live record their concerts. I mean, the studios were screaming at them to not do that because it was going to ruin their business model, but it turned out in favor of the Grateful Dead as a touring act, in that it created this viral furor, if you will. They went viral in that people wanted to get to these live shows, and when they found recordings, they would listen to them as like, well, that show is never going to be performed in that way again. The uniqueness of their live acts is what sold, and they created this huge following. How it turned out for their success, I don't know. Like, was it a wise business move? I haven't done the research on that, but it was kind of a workaround with the idea of protecting your intellectual property. It's like, no, let the people record, let them distribute it, as long as they're not making profit off it. Again, YouTube, kind of, this is in-house. If you're not profiting from the playing, like, I'm not claiming I created this. I'm reviewing this content for my viewership. We're gathering around here to talk about this kind of stuff because we like talking about it. And so yeah, I just see it as a problem. I don't know if the solution is going to be forced upon us or what. But it does seem to be that people that have no ability to create have injected themselves right in the middle of the process. And I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like being told by Sony Music that I did something they don't like. It's like, it's none of your business. You know, you essentially scammed an artist out of their ability to control their own art. And that's just dirty to me. I don't know. Maybe this might be my last YouTube live stream once Sony Music decides to listen in on the content. But I just don't see a necessity for it, especially since music is so fundamental. It'd be like trying to put a trademark on water and charging people, you know, every time they use the term water. You know, you gotta give the trademark some kind of obeisance to their property. Like it just doesn't make sense. So yeah, it's equating intellectual property with real property. You know, real property. If I have a chunk of land, I want to have exclusive rights to it, so that others can't just move in on my land or move into my house. So that's why I have locks on the doors and guard dogs and that kind of thing. So it seems we still do believe in some degree of property rights in Canada somewhat. It's not great, but it's like intellectual rights that's held by a third party. You know, those rights are protected more harshly and more vigorously than any rights, and it's for the sake of money. Like it just doesn't make sense. It does not make sense at all. So yeah, that's Sydney. I think I put her link. It's not about Sydney per se. It's just, here's one independent artist I came across. It's like she's trying, right? So check. It's kind of like popular folky, poppy music. Like it's pretty straightforward stuff. You know, a girl on a guitar singing songs. But then, speaking of Andy Edwards, there was another video. So we'll leave the copyright stuff for now. I mean, this is the beginning of a discussion. I don't claim that I have a solution, but there's equitable solutions for all of this. Like this. Where did we go here? Okay, back to Andy. So there was something he did the other day. Yeah, this one was a funny one. Why a good musician serves the songs is wrong. So I don't know if y'all have seen this. We're not going to watch it.
I love.
But it's basically talking about how listeners will defend their taste, their musical tastes, and they'll use the excuse, well, the musician needs to serve the song. Meaning, I like simple music, and when you go beyond simple, you're kind of destroying the art. And Andy disagrees, and I disagree as well. But I would also say I'm guilty of being one of those musical simpletons. And case in point, let's see here. You guys should be able to see this. So at the end, or not at the end of the last stream, but a day or whatever later, Mike started sending me the links to Genesis. And let's see, we'll read one of your comments here, Mike. Let's focus on Genesis for a bit. Not that you should feature them. It's a pretty proggy, but just to give you a glimpse into my past with them. And yeah, pretty proggy is right. I find, and I'm not going to pull up all these links, but Genesis is an example of a band that is like, I don't get it. Like all the parts separately, like Peter Gabriel, especially, the original lineup there, Peter Gabriel has a very interesting voice. The onstage persona, it's a little out there. And so these were a lot of live performances that Mike had linked to. And I mean, I really enjoy Phil Collins drumming. Like, I'm able to hear, like, as Andy said in his video here, like you're listening to the different parts, the bass, the drums, the guitar. Even if the guitar lines are very complex, you're still able to hear the emotion coming through more so than say David Gilmour's woo woo, as Andy puts it, and claiming that's the height of emotion. Like it's not necessarily that way. So it's like training your ear to hear the harmonies. And I did a video very early on in this channel. Yeah, it's in the music mentality. I think it was titled My Response to Andy Edwards, where I was talking about the tritone or the what is that chord? In Black Sabbath's first song in the first album, Black Sabbath. It was the tritone, and how, as humans, there's like this. It's not genetic; it's epigenetic. It's like it's passed down through your ancestors, where maybe way back in your ancestry there was a church bell that would chime at a certain interval, that would strike a certain chord, and for some reason that's like imprinted on your very DNA, and so that when you hear those sounds, like you respond in a very visceral kind of way, or it actually creates a physiological response, and it's mathematical. Let me switch you back to here. I'm going to look for that James Corbett link.
Welcome back, friends. Welcome back to Solutions Watch.
the sound? Can you hear me? You seem to have something.
Watching all the skies, what you want is the world alone, no one's own. He who life can know no surprise, raising his eyes, beholds of light alone. This blood and soil, now their reign has come to end. Is life again destroyed life? Do they play elsewhere? Do they know more than their childhood games? Maybe the lizards can still to the end as long as judge not this race by its remains. To judge God by creatures with your dead. For now the lizard shed his tail. This is the end of man's long human earth. Life as one now.
Is my sound okay? You guys should have sound here. I see sound on my mixing board. Mike and his prog chased everybody away. All right. Well, you guys get the idea. Here, we'll go back to this. And yeah, so that's Genesis. I haven't touched Genesis. I'm familiar with the stuff in the 80s when they became very poppy. Peter Gabriel had long left. Even some of the older stuff when Peter Gabriel had left were, I guess a lot of the, like I don't know a lot of the history of Genesis. But The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, you know, very highly critically reviewed, well loved by the proggy crowd out there. And I'm kind of, through Andy Edwards, I don't know how to boost my volume here. Like part of the appeal of prog is the virtuosity of the musicians, the English aesthetic, if you will, the lowbrow humor that's kind of contained within the concept album. You know, there's certain things that that are kind of make up the elements of prog. And so Genesis, I mean, in this clip, we didn't have Peter Gabriel playing the flute, but that kind of, it just seems random to me. And all those pieces, like all their instrumentation, the musicians, they've got an interesting sound, but it's like, to me personally, and this is just being very subjective, what appeals to me musically is if I hear a riff or a solo or song, it's like, I got to learn how to play that. That's when I know like I'm onto something, when it stirs up something like that. And so when I hear a piece like that from Genesis, like there's nothing that I'm grabbing onto is like, I need to learn how to play this song. The little random fluting that comes in various performances, you know, I've never been moved to want to take up the flute, you know, and some of my favorite bands do incorporate the flute. You know, Jethro Tull has some fluty parts. Even Marshall Tucker Band, you know, southern rock, country rock. There's a lot of flute in there, but it's like that's not what I'm latching onto. And so it's like the singable solos of Ace Frehley or the riffs of what's the matter you's favorite AC/DC. You know, just that driving rhythm guitar that you could just pick up those licks, and it's like there's a pleasure you get from reproducing them, just for your own pleasure. And so acts like Genesis, even a lot of, you know, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I'm just kind of tiptoeing my way into the prog pool, if you will. And there's a lot of rich music that's there, and the virtuosity and the skill is impressive. And you know, Andy Edwards kind of talks about his descent, you know, from popular music, or I guess it was an ascent, depending on your perspective, but to become a real music snob by going into the proggy acts, and then eventually into jazz and jazz fusion, where it's all essentially mathematics that your brain is processing, and you're deriving the enjoyment from that. So I'm not there yet. I like my simple music, whether it's all pop music or what, but I'll take a Slade Alive, or Alice Cooper Goes to Hell, or Motorhead, like that, the Ramones, true punk, you know, not that stuff that Andy Edwards is trying to pawn off as on you as punk. Motley Crue, like those were riffs and songs like you could sing along to, and this isn't a knock on Peter Gabriel, but there's nothing out that moves me to want to sing along to that, and the visual, the makeup, the stage presence, it's a little, it creeps me out a bit. So, which is good. Like it's meant to arrest you, make you think about what you're partaking in. So, I've got a little bit more of Mike's music set, or the links to work through, but I do enjoy the new music. It's just certain stuff. Well, it's like we were talking about a week or two ago, that Commander Cody and you know, that Hot Rod Lincoln. I mean, the way those fingers are flying. Shoot, I forget the guitarist's name already. But it just makes me want to pick up a guitar and start learning that. You know, like it's just it's just got a groove. It's got a funk that I can get behind. So with you know, complex rhythms and timings and key changes and all kinds of stuff like that. That takes some experience and experimenting with music. So there's just a whole universe of music musical content out there for us to explore. And like I say, it just chaffs my britches. I don't know if that's a saying, but I get a burr in my saddle when you've got record company executives saying, you can't use this, you can't talk about this, this is ours. It's like, you didn't make that, you didn't create, you were totally unnecessary. You're just kind of leeching the fruits of other people's labors for your own self. You know, that's just my feeling. Record labels are completely unnecessary at this point. I see Andy's got a new video dropping in the next week or so, talking about the new music and the way the industry is run. I mean, he's been working in the industry for the last 30 plus years, so he knows it inside and out. And I kind of feel for new artists out there. Like, you want to make a name, but do you want to make that deal with the devil? I mean, that's you know, Robert Johnson down at the crossroads made a deal. You know, was it with Satan, the devil, or was it with the people that wanted to benefit off of his artistry, his creativity? I think it was a statement. You know, we've all seen that Bob Dylan quote. You know, he's still working for the boss, right? Or I forget how he claimed it. You know, like he's not in charge. He's got to keep working because there's an agreement. Well, that deal with the devil was with his label. So a lot of these acts, they're cashing out. They're selling their catalogs, at least ones that still have the rights to them, to Spotify or the highest bidder. And I mean, good for them. You know, like that should be your fortune. That belongs to you. You know, I guess nobody's forcing you to sign that contract. Another artist I did a brief mention on a month or two ago was Keith Green. Now was in the 1970s and 80s as a gospel singer, you know, Christian rock, Christian popular music, but he was railing against the record companies because it was, you know, from his theological standpoint, it was the operating in that manner. And so he had recorded albums that he gave away for free. And he ended up dying in very suspicious circumstances. I don't know if that was retaliation, retribution, or just bad fortune, or what. Nobody will know. His widow, I think, is Melody Green, wrote a whole book about his life story. It's a fascinating read. I think I got it. Let me see if I have it right here. Yeah, no compromise. The life story of Keith Green. So it's a good one. You know, whether you're Christian or a believer or not, like he was a one-man army against the powers that be in the recording industry. Because in the Christian music scene, it's not like it's all the same labels. It's all the same business. It's all the same contracts. You're beholden to your masters once you sign that contract. And so rather than just say it is what it is, it's a matter of like there's got to be a better way. And I mean, this is, you're probably seeing it backwards on your screen. But I've got this mirrored so that I just bear with me for a second. I'm going to see if we can do something in real time here. If I do this, I just want to see, because I'm watching it on. Okay, that's correct. Did I just flip on you guys? Just want to see how it comes up on my monitor here. You guys are my guinea pigs. But that's about all for tonight. I wanted to talk about Genesis and just, yeah, did that link to Corbett's video come up in the chat? Go check out that one. That's a really interesting discussion. Whether you're a musician or not. Okay, so now it's coming up. Right ways. But no. It's weird because when I move this way on my screen, I'm moving the opposite way. So it's not like a mirror that I'm seeing. It's a little disorienting. So. But now on your end, what you're watching should be correct. The hats. Yeah, the hats is kind of a gimmicky thing here. I got a ton of hats. Poco Rosa Cimarron, that'll be for another day. Call me Mike number 2. You've latched on to the mic number 2. Mic 1, mic 2. Testing 1, testing 1, 2. So yeah, I think that's about it for tonight. Like, it wasn't much of a rant. Maybe it'll develop into something more. It just constantly getting these notices from YouTube that, oh, somebody doesn't like what you're doing with their copyright. You're using some music that you don't have a right to. It's like, brother, like, we could sit around and listen to records in my den here and talk about them all we want. You know, we paid for the album, or, you know, whether it's a CD or whatever format. But as soon as I do it online, that's verboten. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So you guys think about it. Let me get back to me with your solutions. But it just seems like copyright is going to become a thing of the past, especially when AI kicks in full throttle and nobody's going to be able to tell who owns the rights to anything anymore. So with that, I think we'll call it a night. I got roast lamb waiting for me downstairs, and we'll see if we have time to do another one for the end of the week. I've been finding I'm very demotivated. I don't know if it's just a lack of energy. I don't have my milking cow anymore. I used to guzzle fresh milk, probably about 1 liter a day. And so my body doesn't have that nutrition source anymore, the good sugars and the good fat. So maybe I just need to find a substitute. But I've been going on coffee and tea and cookies. So in any case, y'all have a great evening. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you on the next one. Yeah, we'll get it shut down. There we go.